People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much and stuff and all of them things. What was I gonna say now? Gedion Zelalem, he's completed his move back to America. He's joined Kansas City. Forgive me if I've mispronounced their team's name. He's returned to the MLS, or he's returned back to the States. He left as a 16, 17, 18-year-old. He returns at 22. Obviously, he had time at Arsenal. And I can't believe the outrage. People are getting outraged about him going back. And not everybody, most people could see it coming. It wasn't going to happen here for him. But I can't understand, like, some people in my mentions, some people in my YouTube comments, people DMing me saying, oh, can you speak again about Zelalem? How did we let him go, this and that? Again, this is a small minority, but this is where I have to question, are you making informed opinions? Because this serves as a lesson. First and foremost, I think Gedion Zelalem is a very good player. I think he's a decent player technically. I've said this in all of my videos about this man since when my first one was, people. If you throw him into the first team right now, he'll hold his own in terms of technical ability. He tries to get onto the ball, provoke situations. He wants the ball. He's a very cultured player, an Arsenal player in that. The problem is there's more to being a professional footballer. I don't want to go over the same things again, but we know injuries was a big part. And when he finally seemed to be getting over the first, apologies for the wind, people. You're like, no, I can't control that. But yeah, when he seemed to be getting over the first couple of ones, he then had the big one at the Under-20 World Cup, and that somewhat, for me, cemented that he won't have a career here, because he was at the age where there's a lot of competition in terms of midfield anyways. There's still a lot of, or was until he left a few days ago, was still a lot of competition here. He needs to show that he has the ability to, not just at Arsenal, but have a top career anywhere. He needs to get some consistency. He needs to leave the injuries and the inconsistencies behind him and play to a greater standard. And the World Cup injury, it's nice to see he's come back, and it was nice for Arsenal and him to renew his contract so he could complete his rehabilitation. But that was just the latest line of signs that it wasn't going to happen here. Ironically, just when he was back playing and looking alright, he got injured there, and you think what could have been. His stock's fallen. On top of the injuries, I've said it before, I feel the loan spells he went on, it was a poor choice in Venlo. It didn't happen for him. Rangers, it was his first loan spell, and it shows you what it takes to be a professional footballer at the top level. Every young player at any of the top six or any Premier League club's got potential and got talent. That's why you're in the door. But you need to play to a greater standard. If you remember Gedion Zelalem at Rangers, the first half of the season, or the first part of his loan spell, because I think he got recalled, he was on fire, and then he kind of went quiet. That's fair enough. He was a young lad them times, trying to add consistency, trying to play to a greater standard and things like that. And a similar theme opened up, like I've just said about Zelalem. Technically he's there, physically he needs to improve, but technically he's there. I don't feel he imposed himself in games, not in terms of muscle and things. I just feel that obviously if you was watching the game, you would see him recycling possession, some nice passes, but he didn't grab the game by the ball sort of thing. You didn't leave any Rangers game thinking Gedion Zelalem dictated the tempo, everything ran through him. It was the Gedion Zelalem show, and that's what you need to kind of do to play to a greater standard. And it just hasn't happened for him. Like I said, he's always had the technical abilities, but it just hasn't happened. Injuries, inconsistencies. He's 22 years of age, can barely get a game, or start a game for the under-23s until he left. So you could see it happening. This was going to happen. He was never going to have a future here based on what's happened in the last 2, maybe even 3 seasons. And to be honest, even with the likes of Benassia, and we could be here all day, Rene Adelaide, all of these players that can play on the flanks or play in central positions, they've already, Josh De Silva, Vlad Dragomir, they've all departed the club opening up positions, and still his stock has fallen and he's still not had a look in. Like I said, he's 22 and he's not getting ahead of Ben Shafe, Gilmore, and just about anyone at under 23 level who plays there. Not even too sure if he's been involved in first team training sessions, but he didn't fly out of pre-season and he ain't been on no cup bench, so clearly Unai Emery doesn't fancy him and whatnot. That's fine. This happens. I don't think the next Cesc Fabregas talk, or it weren't even next Cesc Fabregas. I remember when he was 16, 17, people were saying he's more ahead of Cesc at that age, and that might be true, people, but where is it now? Do you see what I'm saying? And I don't feel these things help. I feel, for what it's worth, my most happiest memory of Zelalem is when my boy used to play for Spurs, back when Arsenal used to play at Barnet's home ground, their second string. Went there, saw Zelalem, actually saw Bentaleb, and I said to my guys, Bentaleb's going to have a future, man. Not because he necessarily stood out, I just saw some bravado, the mouth and stuff. Now look at him. Zelalem was playing, one of the youngest. You got to remember, it was technically under 21s at the time, and he's 16, 17. Physically, obviously, he was getting outdone, but technically he was holding his own. So again, you could see the potential is there, but for me, I still think he can have a decent career. I'm pretty sure he wants to make a success of himself in Europe. At least if he goes back to America, at least he's in the immediate thoughts of the national team or the national team scouts, so he can realize his ambition of kicking on at international level for them. He can build his reputation. He's back in his homeland. He's probably, obviously, I don't even remember what state he's actually from, but I know it's not the team he's joining, but his family would be closer to get to visit him and things like that. I know he's got family in Germany, but they can visit him and he can be around that supporting network and things like that. And it's just nice for him to go home, build himself back, get first and foremost, enjoy your football. Because if I was him, to be honest, I hope he's still enjoying his football. But for the last couple of seasons, you'd have to forgive him for not enjoying his football. So immediately get a smile back on your face. Obviously play to a good standard, and he's still 22, people. Obviously he's not going to have the mad future next Cesc Fabregas, what people were talking about, but you could still get a move back to Europe. You could still have a top level career. You could still establish himself in the national team and at domestic level. So I wish him all the best, but I can't understand why some fans, small section, are actually upset. It just feels like they want to be upset for no reason at times. So yeah, man, Zelalem, it is what it is, man. It's tough to make it. It's tough, and to be honest, people, there's some young players you lot see me praise every week and make videos about, and I don't necessarily feel they're gonna make it because they're not imposing themselves and things like that. And as much as I love all these young players, I'm not gonna name drop people that can play in cams, people that can play in tens, especially with the under 18s, people that I'm saying are running the show. There's only around 2-3 that I genuinely believe will make it here because you've got to play to a certain standard. You've got to have a certain amount of consistency. Of course, I would love 11 players to come through the academy, people, but that's what I honestly believe, man. There's only around 2-3 that I'm honest, maybe even, not even 4, 2-3 that I could, and that's even a lot, that I can put my hat on and say I can see them definitely making it here. There's the vast majority of the players that are British, people, they're not going to have futures at Arsenal. I hope they go on to have futures at Arsenal, and I hope they have top level careers because I love youth football and I like these players. But there's only a certain, but it's tough, people. Especially for the young strikers, man. It's going to be extremely tough for them to get a look. And you look at Balogun, John Jules, and Kay. I love all three of them, but look at Aubameyang and Lacazette. They're not moving off anytime soon. So decisions will be, all three will probably have to make decisions as to whether they believe they can make it here or cut futures elsewhere. But that's for another vid, to be fair with you. Like I said, I wish Zelalem all the best, but it was coming, people. It was always coming, man. It was always coming, especially if you're paying attention to youth level and things like that. But yeah, man, there's really not much more to say, so I'm gonna get out of here. People, deluded.